When the Chicago drill movement first exploded onto the scene, it wasn't just about music. It was a full-blown cultural shift wrapped in real-life warfare. Bodies were dropping at an alarming rate, and for many, it felt like something the world had never witnessed before. Fans weren't just listening. They were living vicariously through their favorite artists, many of whom were active participants in the street conflicts that inspired their lyrics. Chicago was fractured, carved into rival cliques and sets, each fighting for control, territory, and respect. Before diving into the astonishing story of a legendary Caucasian figure who found himself immersed in the chaos, it's important to understand the different crews and alliances that defined this era. Dangerous Crews. One of the most notorious sets was 051 Young Money, infamous for being at odds with almost every major crew in the city. Their primary rivals included Wick City, 600, and THF 46, among many others. Interestingly, some of the individuals in 051 started out as promising basketball players, before transforming into feared drillers no one wanted to cross. Among 051's most recognized names is 051 Drilla, an incredibly talented rapper with numerous tracks racking up millions of views. Many believe he's long overdue for mainstream recognition. Then there's 051 Kiddo, described by his own associates as unpredictable and mentally unstable. Deeply entrenched in the gang lifestyle, he was involved in multiple drive-bys and robberies, eventually receiving a prison sentence exceeding 10 years. Even behind bars, Kiddo continued to represent his set fiercely, frequently getting into altercations. After serving 10 years, 4 months, and 24 days, he was released, but returned to the streets with the same energy, dropping diss tracks and taunting rivals. Despite making headlines and cementing his legacy in drill lore, he was eventually caught with a firearm and sent back to prison. And then there's 051 Melly, a name that carries heavy weight in Chicago street history. A legendary figure, Melly instilled fear across the city. Out of respect for the families of those involved, we won't dive into the specifics or name any alleged victims. But it's widely believed that Melly and his set were tied to significant street violence. Moving on, another renowned set is NLMB, which, unlike 051, had several powerful alliances, including Front Street, O Block, and 600. However, allies also came with enemies, and NLMB found themselves at war with Lakeside, Black Mob, Death Row, and others. When you think of NLMB, the first name that often comes to mind is superstar rapper G Herbo. With a net worth exceeding $3 million, Herbo has had a lasting impact on both the drill scene and mainstream music culture. Alongside him is Lil Bibby, a fellow rapper and producer whose biggest cultural contribution may have been discovering and managing the late superstar Juice WRLD. A visionary hustler, Bibby now boasts a net worth of over $14 million. Other notable figures from NLMB include Cairo, known for his outspoken personality and presence across blogs and social media, and Mad Max, a reputed enforcer with a fearsome reputation. His name is often associated with several of the violent events that marked this era, though many of the details remain speculative and heavily debated. Finally, we arrive at 600, one of the most infamous sets in all of Chicago. Closely allied with O Block, Front Street, and Lamar On, they were major players in the city's deadliest rivalries, particularly their long-standing feud with STL, a war that gained national attention and changed the face of American street culture. 600's most well-known members include Rondo No. 9, currently serving a life sentence for the murder of a cab driver, and Die, who was involved in the same case. Die is also the brother of the late drill pioneer Louisiana Capone, whose tragic death cut short a career that had the potential to go fully mainstream. L.A. Capone's death symbolized a brutal reality that even the most talented artists could fall victim to the streets. The rise of gangs. At just 17 years old, many young people are still figuring life out. But in Chicago's drill scene, 17 could be the beginning or the end. One of the most infamous and influential sets during this era was O Block, also known as the legendary Gang O Block. Their web of alliances included 600, THF 46, Blackgate, Lamar On, and several other powerful sets. O Block's most infamous and long-running rivalry was with STL St. Lawrence, but tensions also ran high with crews like Tay-Town, Yarrow City, and countless others. The set produced many prominent figures, the first being Boss Top, a rapper and blogger who became a recognizable voice in drill culture. Then there's T-Roy, known citywide as a legendary enforcer who struck fear into both his enemies and even his peers. You can't talk about O-Block without bringing up King Von, a rap superstar whose music, storytelling, and violent street reputation earned him the controversial title of rap's first serial killer. And of course, there's the pioneer himself, Chief Keef. Widely credited with launching the drill movement into the mainstream, Keef's music, style, and influence became a blueprint for everything that followed. On the other side of the battlefield stood STL, backed by allies such as Yarrow City, Brick Squad, Wooga World, and Tay-Town. Like O-Block, STL had its share of deadly conflicts, especially with 600, Lamaron, and of course, O-Block. The STL camp was home to several notable figures. Billionaire Black, for example, went viral not just for his music, but also for his perseverance, bouncing back after spending time in a wheelchair. Then there's FBG Butta, who gained millions of views and attention across major platforms, and his biological sister K.I., one of the most feared female figures in the history of Chicago street wars. Lil J, aka the Chicago Mechanic, was another prominent name, known for his unpredictable energy and street reputation. Lil J was said to be both charismatic and dangerous. During the deadly feud with O-Block, he was often in the center of the storm. Another key STL member was FBG Cash, who was on the brink of mainstream success when he was tragically set up and killed, reportedly lured by a woman he was seeing. His biological brothers, FBG Duck, FBG Young, and FBG Dutchie, were all part of the STL roster as well. Duck, in particular, became a face of the movement until he was murdered in a brazen hit that echoed the style of mafia executions, drawing attention from across the country. Also among STL's lineup was Ruga, a hit-making artist who even landed a collaboration with Kanye West, and FBG Wooski, who survived being shot outside a funeral and continues to rap to this day. Then there was FBG Brick, another talented artist whose life was tragically cut short. But there was one name often left out of the headlines: FBG White Boy, a rare figure in the drill scene. White Boy grew up in the heart of the hood around the infamous PBG set. From an early age, he stood out. His energy, fearlessness, and street smarts earned the respect of those around him. He formed a close friendship with Young Pappy, another drill legend. The two would hang out, smoke, and hustle together. Over time, White Boy established himself as a trusted plug in the underground scene, providing firearms and pharmaceuticals. He was bringing in thousands of dollars a week, supplying product to various sets across the city. The drill legend. His entry into the drill world wasn't through music. It was through trapping. He was known to deal lean, bud, bars, ice, blow, and most notably Yerkes, Xanax. His reputation quickly caught the attention of Billionaire Black, who began sourcing from him. That transaction sparked a growing friendship, and White Boy began frequenting STL more and more. Eventually, he crossed paths with Lil J, and the two hit it off instantly. They started hanging out daily, reportedly popping pills and getting into trouble together. When Jay first started posting photos of White Boy, critics accused him of trying to imitate Chief Keef's old white friend Lil Flash, but White Boy didn't care. Through Lil J, he met FBG Butta, and the trio quickly became tight, spending their days deep in the mix, surrounded by chaos, drugs, and rising tension. All of this unfolded during the peak of the war between O-Block and STL, an era that captivated the world, from the US to Europe. The drill music mirrored the violence in the streets. The authenticity was raw, dangerous, and gripping. According to rumors, though never officially confirmed, White Boy eventually earned the right to carry the FBG name after reportedly participating in missions against rival sets. Whatever people say about Lil J or the wider drill scene, one thing is undeniable. It created a cultural storm unlike anything we've seen before. And tucked within that storm are stories, like FBG White Boys, that defy expectations, blur racial lines, and reveal just how complex and layered Chicago's underground really was. Despite everything, he was a savage, completely devoted to his set, and willing to do whatever it took. During this period, he and FBG White Boy were fully locked into crash-out mode. The streets were on fire, Tension was rising, and the weight of constant warfare began to take its toll. To cope with the paranoia of always watching their backs and the emotional toll of losing so many close friends, they leaned heavier into pharmaceuticals. Their crew was beefing with 13 different sets, which meant there were countless sleepless nights, especially for White Boy, who stuck out more than most. Despite his appearance, he was really from the streets, raised in the heart of PBG's hood, and respected as someone who stood on business. In fact, he was a key bridge between sets, introducing members of STL to his people in PBG. He would often be seen hanging with both crews, shooting dice and sparking up J's, serving as a connector across neighborhoods that usually didn't mingle. His reputation as someone who could move through multiple hoods came from deep ties and real-life experience. But beneath the surface, he was spiraling. The pharmaceutical abuse grew worse. White Boy was reportedly taking over 3 bars a day, and as the addiction deepened, so did his recklessness. He transitioned from a street dealer to a full-blown jack boy, setting people up and robbing anyone in his path. No one was safe, not even the plugs. He was taking from everyone, burning bridges as fast as he built them. But that lifestyle always has an expiration date. One cold Chicago night, White Boy and 2 of his boys went out to hit a lick. But this time they picked the wrong target. The plug they tried to hit wasn't just ready, he was waiting for it. White Boy and his crew rolled out strapped, but so was the opposition. The tension quickly escalated into a shootout. What happened next would change everything. The young man tragically lost his life, becoming yet another victim of the cycle that trapped so many growing up in the trenches. Like countless others raised in harsh environments, he became a product of his surroundings, turning to the streets, gangs, and substances as a way to cope with the constant pressure and pain. But he wasn't just another name in the mix. He made real efforts to unify different neighborhoods, building bridges where most only saw enemies. Those who knew and believed that if he were still here today, he would have gone mainstream without a doubt. Featured on major platforms like No Jumper and Say Cheese, with his story and charisma captivating audiences far beyond Chicago. R.I.P. FBG White Boy. You pass a legend, and your name still echoes in the streets you came from.